Hey guys, it's Nate with another Backcountry beer review. Today I'm on Muska Peak, which is in the Manzano Mountains. It's on the north end. It's actually, the summit itself marks the boundary between the Cibola National Forest and Isla de Pueblo. But it's a beautiful day, a beautiful summit. Views are pretty good, with it being, dry, windy spring in New Mexico. You don't typically get views super far away just because it gets a little hazy. But I mean, I can still see a lot of stuff. And in the immediate area, just the views are stunning. Beautiful views of the Sandias, the rest of the Manzanos, the Manzanitas, the East Albuquerque Ranges, just insanely beautiful. Sorry, there's a bug on my head. A fly, appropriately. Anyway, beer I'm reviewing today is by Steelbender Brewing in Los Ranchos de Albuquerque, not actually in Albuquerque. And it is their Lloyd's 3 o'clock Kolsch. Of course, I've reviewed Steelbender, I think 2 other times. I reviewed one of their sours, and I reviewed their Italian Pilsner to open up Lager Summer last year. Get ready, because Lager Summer's coming. 2 more episodes. And, I think that first episode of Lager Summer might be episode 100 of Backcountry Beer Reviews, so definitely keep an eye out. Anyway, Steelbender, I like their beer. Not much to say that I haven't already said. Let's read the can. Hard day's work deserves a reward, but sometimes 5 o'clock ain't soon enough. We worked hard to brew this bright, easy drinking, sessionable Kolsch style ale because the clock doesn't know how hard you work and refreshment should happen on your terms. Enjoy it, you earned it. And there are tasting notes, so I can cheat a little bit. Dry, herbal, bright, doughy with hints of lemon. So I am going to open this up and try it now. There's a little bit of scrambling to come up, and it was definitely steep, a lot of bushwhacking, but I already ate lunch. With this being a relatively light beer, I'm not too worried about it. So let's open it up and give it a taste. Okay, time for a sip. I mean, it's definitely like a lighter beer, but it's not a beer I would call light. I think it's still, it's this hard thing, vis-a-vis a lager, because obviously Kolsch, the comparison is very ready to compare a Kolsch to a lager. So I'd say versus a lager, I mean, this is not nearly as bright. It's not as crisp. It's not as crackery. It's definitely a lighter beer, but I find that it feels fuller body than maybe a similar style lager would. I'm getting for sure straw. I'm getting some minerality. I'm getting bread notes, of course. I think to me, if you want to talk about the difference between this and like a lager, I think typically profiles like a blonde lager. That I'm typically comparing to a freshly baked bread, freshly baked sourdough bread or something, freshly baked sourdough bread from the Whole Foods or something. Versus this, I think, is more of like a starchy, kind of richer, heavy country loaf. Something more rustic, like you might make at home in the bread machine. It's certainly heavier. So like, again, if this were a piece of bread, I would say it's probably less airy than like a lager style piece of bread would be. I'm comparing bread to bread now. This is beer, but bear with me. That's kind of the best way I can think of to describe it, but it is certainly good. I mean, like, it has those Kolsch notes. I think like the descriptor on the can that says it's doughy, I think that's a very apt descriptor because dough, like unbaked dough, has this like, it has that breadiness, it has that yeastiness, but it kind of lacks the like crispness of when it's baked. Just think of like you bite into that crust and how you've that air. From that air that's been like trapped inside the bread just enters your olfactory nerves, and like dough doesn't really have that. Dough is, I don't want to say unrefined, but maybe that's the best way I can put it. And that's kind of like what this is. Cheating a little bit from the can, I do get the lemon that they talk about. I can't remember if I mentioned that yet. I think, to me, it's like the hop flavor is more or less indiscernible. I get it a little bit at the finish. Sure, like herbal, like it says in the can, I get maybe a little bit of earthiness, just like a light, noble hop flavor. But that's pretty typical, I think, of like a Kolsch, for that hop flavor to be very much taking a back seat. So overall, I think it's certainly a nice, it says refreshing Kolsch style ale. Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. Tastes good. The thing with Kolsch is I think they're kind of fun to review because they're sort of, to me, like lager adjacent, but certainly with a Kolsch, you're not expecting to, let's say, get the most complex beer, even in its best incarnation. So in that sense, this is certainly appropriate as a Kolsch, but I like it. Anyway, I think that's enough yapping from me. Cheers, and have a backcountry beer for me.